Daylight, my MVVs, welcome. The hearts of the Oloris are very heavy. The palace is, shaken. As Ooni of Ife revealed more and more and more, that Queen Naomi's voice, stirs the spirit. Even the gods of Ile-Ife want Queen Naomi's return. Okay, they said when Ooni of Ife said this to the Oloris, they said they were weak. Daylight, seriously. They said they were weak. They said this one carries weight of the ancient drum of Ile-Ife. They said they were so weak. They said Ooni of Ife spoke. And you know that when Ooni of Ife speaks, he doesn't just talk. He is king, okay? When he opens his mouth, it is drenched in divine prophecy, soaked in the mystery of royalty, and carried on the wind by the ancestors themselves. Sorry about that. They continue to fight Olori Naomi because they know that something has actually shifted in the palace since Naomi came back. They know that the air right now is thick. The wives are uneasy. The chiefs whisper in corner. The servants walk lightly. And why? Because the Ooni of Ife, that majestic lion, the spiritual gatekeeper of, the heritage, has made a revelation so deep, so unexpected, that shocked the very root of the palace. He said it quietly, but those close to him could hear it very clearly. They say his eyes were clouded with emotions, his voice laced with something not even royalty can hide. Longing. What did he say? The spirits are restless, the gods are calling. Even the throne misses her voice. That is Queen Naomi's voice, and that they are calling for Queen Naomi's return. Ile-Ife has been saying these things over and over again. A lot of them right now, they don't like Ile-Ife because they feel that Ile-Ife is playing favoritism. Ile-Ife just loves Queen Naomi like every other person. And that is why Ile-Ife continues to say things to favor Olori Naomi. It is not so, okay? It is not true. Let me say, say this again. Not the wives, not the palace guard, the gods themselves, the divine custodian of Ile-Ife, ancient power, are calling for Queen Naomi, her voice, her spirit, her presence. They are no longer, comfortable with the fact that she is out there, that, their desire is to have Queen Naomi back into the palace. And you see, it is the shift that is making things work this way for Queen Naomi. Look at the kind of things that the Ooni of Ife is doing. Look at the way Ooni of Ife, if you look at Ooni of Ife lately, you can see that the man is happy again. He is relaxed again. Not like other times where you will say, he will even be welcoming his children. He's just sitting down there all uptight and everything. Look at Ooni of Ife's aura. Just look at the way he receives things. He is happy again. And this man is only happy when he is with Olori Naomi. They say it is the Ooni himself who made the statement that from the moment Queen Naomi stepped into the palace, the atmosphere changed. Bed flew lower. The sacred groove grew quieter, okay? The palace became a sanctuary. Why? Because this was not just a woman. This was a vessel, a spiritual medium, a prophetess, not only by calling, but by bed. And if you can still remember, when Kabiyesi married Olori Naomi, he made a statement. He said that he is the most happiest man on earth today because he didn't just marry a woman. He married a vessel. They say when she prayed, the earth responded. They said when she danced in the inner chambers, the ancestors smiled. They said when she spoke to Oni, his dreams became clearer, and yet she left, and the palace has not been the same again. That was what even the elders that were around Ooni of Ife, when this exposition was going on, they said these were the things that they mentioned themselves. Yes, there are new wives, beautiful, elegant, intelligent. But they are right. Even the most adorned woman cannot fill the void left by a woman chosen by the gods. And that's the truth. You cannot replace divine ordination with human selection. And now the Ooni of Ife has confirmed it by himself. As we are hearing, if this information is true, sources inside the palace say that he recently sat in council with the highest traditional priests. They are wise, they are rabbi and Ifa custodian, and they all say the same thing. Yes. Kabiyesi, the seat beside you remains cold. The sacred energy is incomplete. The land is watching. The heavens are waiting. She must return, was what they said. Okay? Now imagine the shock in the women's quarters. They say, other Oloris, all Ebony, Oletik, blow, everyone, all of them have given their loyalty. All of them have tried to please the king. Yet, when the spiritual report came from the highest oracle in Ile-Ife, it did not mention any of them. It mentioned one name only, Naomi. Naomi. And what happens next, Daylight? Has left the palace in a storm of emotion. The Ooni himself was moved. They say he went silent for hours, that he walked through the royal garden alone and sat under the ancient Iroko tree, the one that has seen kings rise and fall. And there, they say he spoke to the wind. Naomi, wherever you are, our gods will bring you back, no matter how far they have sent you. No matter what happens, you will return back to where you truly belong. Now, you can understand why he is doing everything within his power to get Olori Naomi back to his life. And hence the private jet. A lot of people are saying it was even because of Olori Naomi that he bought that private jet. That this whole thing that happened was premeditated. Like, he wanted it to happen exactly the same way. Because when he had a private jet before, the one that he bought with Dr. Elizabeth, you know that before he married all of these women, his own private jet had gone bad, okay? He resold it for a very long time. He wasn't using his private jet. He was using the private jet that belongs to his adopted daughter, that is Dr. Elizabeth Jack Rich. And so, there was a time Ooni was to go to the United States of America. Mr. Jack Rich had already traveled to Australia. So Ooni had to wait for Jack Rich to come back so that he can use the private jet. Dr. Elizabeth saw that and said, no, they should buy another private jet. And they acquired another private jet that Kabiyesi has been using. And then, now this time, they sold that private jet and bought this private jet. And now, Naomi is the only one who has used the private jet. A lot of people will say, why is Dr. Elizabeth not upset? Dr. Elizabeth has a very large heart. She is not like that. I do know that Kabiyesi has not said nobody will use the private jet, but he said for now, it's only Olori Naomi. And they say, Ooni has said that if the universe heard it, something strange began to happen. Like, as if the universe heard it, something strange began to happen when he prayed for Queen Naomi's return. The sacred drums of Ile-Ife, used only for, festivals and coronations, started vibrating on their own. Remember last few weeks, they talked about that drum that was beating at night. Not loudly, but enough to draw the attention of the palace guard. The high priest was called, and do you know what he said? The drums are not broken. They are responding to her spirit. She is not here, but her presence is felt. She is still bonded to the throne. Now, Daylight, tell me, who can argue with that? Now, let's not forget that Queen Naomi did not live in disgrace, so she left in dignity. In the interest of those who continue to say she disgraced herself, blah, 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 she left with her dignity intact, choosing her peace over palace politics. She left not because she was weak, but because she understood her power. And sometimes when the anointed step back, the world realizes what they lose. And that, what they have lost. And that is exactly what is going on with Olori Naomi right now. And, there's nobody who can deny it. The wives are shaken. Not only Queen Naomi is fighting to return, she's not. In fact, she has said nothing. Her silence is royal. Her silence is louder than, their ceremonies. And that is what frightens them the most, because they now understand that no matter how many wives line the palace, only one is, in the soul of the kingdom. It's only that one wife, Olori Naomi, that, you know, people want, the Ooni of Ife wants. There is nothing that can change it. This latest revelation has left everyone breathless, because if the gods are calling for her return, then it's no longer about what he wants. It's now about what destiny requires. You know, with all of these things that everybody has been doing left and right, fighting, and the daughter of the soil, Amanisong, and all of that, you know, revelations are coming over and over again. In Yoruba land, when a queen becomes the spiritual counterpart to a king, she is more than his wife. She becomes his Aya, Afin, okay? That word is spelled, Iya, Iya, Afin is Aafin, mother of the palace. Not in age, but in essence. She becomes the one true, you know, whom blessing flow. If she leaves, the palace suffers. And now, the suffering is showing, the energy is low, the ceremonies feel, you know, forced. The eyes of the Oni look elsewhere. You know, always elsewhere. Look at where Queen Naomi is. That is where Ooni of Ife is always, you know, being seen. That was why the other week they were shouting, why is he always going to Lagos, a private jet, and this, that is risking his life and all of that. It's because they say where, you know, a man's treasure lies, that is where he will be found. This is what is going on in the palace right now. I'm going to bring you more update. Do not forget that these are all alleged, rumored, unverified information making the rounds on social media and should not be seen as fact.